And introduce Joy Baxter, who is just so faithful, such a faithful part of our group, and a dynamo when it comes to advocating for the environment. So Joy is a trained creation care ambassador for Blessed Tomorrow. And Blessed Tomorrow is a coalition of diverse religious partners working to advance climate solutions in faithful service to God. I looked that up because it's a very cool organization. And as well as the Evangelical Church of America. She's chair of the Green Team at St. Paul's Lutheran Church in Ardmore, co-chair of the Haverford Township Environmental Advisory Committee, and chair of the Southeast Pennsylvania chapter of the Clean Energy Co-op that develops renewable energy installations through community investment. Joy has used her background in engineering to bring a fresh analysis and solution to environmental issues. So she's going to talk to us tonight about the Clean Energy Co-op and about solar.
Yeah.
So thanks.
Can I get sharing capabilities?
Yes. I'm going to make you a co-host. Okay.
Okay. So thank you, Courtney, for the wonderful intro. I want to highlight Brent. Brent, how do you pronounce your last name again?
It's pronounced just like Gross, Gross.
Gross. Okay. I thought I had been pronouncing it incorrectly, so I'm glad I asked. So Brent Gross, who's also in the leadership team of the Clean Energy Co-op in Southeast Pennsylvania. And Jenny is now a new member of the Clean Energy Co-op. And I think that's all that we have on right now that are members, but please let me know if you are a member and I missed you. So the Clean Energy Co-op is basically uses the model of collectively pooling our money of members as investments in order to create a solar installation. Our mission is to sustainably develop renewable energy resources for a healthy and just energy future for our communities, using local investment and providing positive returns to its members. So the way this works is that we're about community ownership and governance. So we're all volunteer run membership organization, kind of like a credit union or an investment club. So first, basically the first step of is learning about what the Clean Energy Co-op does. If you decide that this is something you also want to be part of, you can join, invest, and then earn. Now, in the previous mission statement, you did not see that we are trying to make our members rich. We are trying to make renewable energy happen. So this is kind of like socially conscious investing. So the history.
Joy, we're not seeing a PowerPoint.
No, I have no idea.
So we're not, it was there and then it disappeared. Do you want to?
Oh yeah, let me go back. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay.
So you don't see anything right now. You just see
I'm just saying it.
Oh, you know what? I think I know what happened.
Okay.
I have to change it to slideshow. What?
Can you try sharing your screen again?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to figure out how to share it and get it into the presentation.
Okay, there we're seeing it.
Now I'm going to hit slideshow, and this is where I think it's going to drop it. Can you see it?
Hey,
now we got it.
Okay.
Peyton. No, baby.
Now we,
Maybe if people can mute.
now we've got it. I took care of that.
Okay, so this is the slide that you missed. I read it to you. And then learn, join, invest, earn, socially conscious investing. Okay, you're caught up. So the Clean Energy Co-op started in 2014 up in the northeast of Pennsylvania, in Honesdale, Pennsylvania. It germinated. This is good. This is a good pun. Out of the SEEDS organization, which was going and doing energy assessments, and the SEEDS organization actually one project a year actually installs collectively an installation, which I think is really cool. I am not an installer, but but they figured out they wanted to do this cooperative corporation. So they developed this concept and have done 4 projects. And then a group of us down here in Haverford are actually trying to get our municipal buildings to go solar, and trying to do it in a way where we collectively could fund it, and like they do in Germany. And so then we were alerted to that basically the Clean Energy Co-op was already doing this, and they were so gracious enough to say yes, and we created a chapter of the co-op down here. So we expanded. Now we have 2 development areas. We're all one co-op, but now we can develop projects in these 2 different areas. I mentioned we're all volunteer run. We're up to 148 members, and growing. So the cooperative is, if you're not familiar with a cooperative, it's about, it's all user owned, and it controlled business. And we have, each member of the co-op has 1 vote. And no matter if you choose to invest or not, everybody has 1 vote. The community benefit takes priority over profits, but we are still a business, so we want to make be able to pay off the investments with some interest. What I think is really cool about this is that we're aggregating each of the members' contributions, so we can do more collectively as we could have done as individuals. So kind of just an overview of the business model. It's really a slow money business model. And the co-op evaluates projects that are aligned with our mission. Then we raise the necessary funds to construct and operate the projects. And then the capital is repaid with a modest return. So we get more and more, as we get more and more projects going, it just gets to be a larger portfolio. So these are the 4 pictures of the 4 projects that the co-op has done so far. It's installed over 149 kilowatts of solar photovoltaics. All of these installations were done on hosts that paid 0 money up front, either through loans or through power purchase agreements, which is where you pay for the electricity that the solar produces. These projects count for over $300,000 of community investment. And then the benefits are going back to the community. The installers are in the community, the investors are in the community. So, and this has led to us being rewarded for this type of model. So in 2016, we got the National Best Community Renewable Energy Project. And just this past year for this last last project, the Storebridge project, which is on a business incubator, a municipal building, got the Pennsylvania Environmental Council Environmental Protection Partnership Award. And in that project, which is called the Storebridge project, we did the first kiosk, and I think this idea is going to stay. Maybe not exactly looking like this. In this business incubator, there was a woodcutter, laser woodcutter, that contributed to this beautiful educational display showing that. So, like, you don't usually see what's on the roof of the building in a commercial building, but so this shows the in time production of the solar and describes the solar project. Here in the greater Philadelphia area in the Southeast chapter, we have been pursuing a project. No forums have been signed yet, but we're continuing to have discussions. I'm putting solar on the Linwood Elementary School, which is in the Haverford Township School District. We're currently one of 2 solar proposals being evaluated. This would be the largest system of the co-op so far at 250 kilowatts. This is cost neutral for the district over time, and maybe even cash positive the first year if the SRECs stay as high as they are right now. And so we're hoping that the district moves forward with this, so then it's a good step. It's maybe other buildings, if they don't go with us, but we'll go solar. So the way the funding works for these projects is that once there isn't basically projects that are ready to develop, the finance committee develops essentially a prospectus, an offering memorandum that acts as the prospectus, and this is available to members of the co-op. So there are a lot of rules about investments from the SEC, and the way that we can have non-accredited investors, basically meaning that you don't have a huge net worth or basically that, and the SEC says, oh, you obviously know what you're doing with money. If you're just kind of the run-of-the-mill people, in order to invest, you have to go through certain structures. And what was really great about the Clean Energy Co-op is they completely figured this out. So in order to, because of the structure that's needed, you have to be a member of the co-op in order to see the prospectus, and only people in Pennsylvania or members in Pennsylvania can see the prospectus. So we've had 4 offering periods so far. You could see the amounts that were invested. The number of people total that invested were 42 and accounted for 210 preferred shares. The preferred shares are $1,000 a share, and people can invest multiple. This is what's been done in the past, because we can't really talk about what's going on in the future. But so in the past, we've been able to give a dividend of 2% each year for our members. So what does being a member mean? So 1 member, 1 vote. You have to become an owner of the co-op. You have a one-time $100 lifetime membership, and this is important for people who are really involved. There's only 1 annual meeting required. So this is a low threshold of engage, or it can be a low threshold of engagement. opportunity for you. And then once you're a member, you would have the opportunity to invest when there is an offering. Again, it's $1,000 a share, and this prospectus is provided. And we've been able to meet our yearly dividend goal of 2% in the past. And also, of course, you would have the opportunity to volunteer to help run the co-op, being on the project development committee, the outreach, finance, be possibly part of the board or the local chapter leadership. So it's all about, people, planet, and profit. We're putting societal and local community benefits, environmental benefits first, and resulting in modest financial profits. And one of the reasons that we are, there's not many for commercial small scale development and medium development. The reason you don't see lots of companies out there is the money isn't there in Pennsylvania. So if you're a small scale, under 200 if you want to put it under 200 kilowatt system, which is kind of like 38 homes, anything smaller than that, you're not going to find someone really that's going to give you a power purchase agreement in Pennsylvania other than us, because we're positioned in this way so we can just get the modest financial benefits. So going on to how the Clean Energy Co-op works with houses of worship, I can say that there's 2 projects that are possibly coming online, ready for development in the Northeast. And one of those is would be a house of worship. So this is something that we are definitely, houses of worship are things that we consider beneficial to the community. So the ways that we interact is through education on the location, looking to see if the location is suitable for solar. Also education on financing options. And then, of course, if desired, a possible financial partnership, but that's not necessarily the goal, since the goal is for the Clean Energy Co-op is to increase renewable energy in the region. We're not doing it just to get the financial partnership. So why would a house of worship want to install solar? So according to like the Energy Star, where Energy Star gets their information is from the Energy Information Administration. And for buildings that are primarily used for religious services, around the electricity counts for between 30 and 50%. And then of course, if the heating is, if it's all electric, then it would be 100%. So this is a significant part of the energy footprint for the buildings, electricity. It would be, and Chuck, you can correct me if I'm wrong from your analysis, but I think is the 3rd most impactful emissions reduction after eliminating the car travel to the building and the heating emissions. Energy efficiency measures should absolutely come first, especially if the production that's looked at for solar is close to 70%. I can say at my my church, we're going forward with solar before we do all of the energy efficiency measures, because we're only looking totally for the whole campus. Our system is only going to cover around 20%. So we can do it concurrently without oversizing our system. And what I think is really great in terms of a house of worship is that it's an easy win. Basically, a committee has to make one decision one time, and you reduce the emissions yearly for 30 years. One thing that's always seems to be a question is, well, why not just buy renewable electricity? Well, buying renewable electricity is absolutely the second best option to installing renewable electricity, it only installing directly increases the amount of renewable electricity. In Pennsylvania, the US, and the world, where buying renewable electricity only supports the renewable electricity energy industry, and only a small fraction is actually installed because of the purchase you are making. So I'm just going to go over, so I did a presentation with for another church, and this is kind of like the, if I just go and meet with someone, a church that's interested in solar, or a house of worship that's interested in solar, this is kind of what I would go through. I would look at the facility. This is, anybody can do that, get this picture. It's, if you put in your address, and I'll put, Brent, can you put in the Project Sunroof information in the chat? If you put in your address at Project Sunroof, you can get this essentially sunny to shady map. And the only caveat to this is the data analysis is about 3 or 4 years old. So if there is a tree that has grown a lot, or trees that were taken down, you have to take that into consideration. So that that area would not be accurate as far as shading. But the yellow, you'll never see white in this area. So that bright yellow is as good as you get in Pennsylvania. And so this, for yellow, that'd be a great place to have solar panels. Another thing to consider for house, specifically about houses of worship in this area, is slate is not a good substrate for solar. It's doable, but it would result in an installation that's about twice as expensive as if it's done on essentially any other roofing surface. So, I would go through, how much could be produced, what the cost would be. And if you were to buy it, just the church to just buy it, what would be the break-even time? So with nonprofits, there's a big advantage of going with third-party ownership. And it's because tax benefits are not, can't be realized by entities that don't pay taxes. And in this pie chart, there's 2 areas where you can get tax benefits. One is the same as for a resident, and that's in the income tax credit but the other one is with depreciation of the solar system. So you almost get to 50% reduction in cost for the third party that's owning a system, because they're able to realize those benefits. So here I'm just kind of, these are some of the big options for putting solar on in Pennsylvania because of the costs and everything here on houses of worship. You'll notice these first 2 columns are the house of worship would own the system. There'd be no third-party ownership. And these last 3, there's third-party ownership. So 2 of them need capital up front. If you're going to buy the system in cash, or if you're going to utilize a company called Collective Sun. And I have to say, I've been looking at all these different options, and my church just decided to buy it in cash. So, sometimes it's whatever, you have to get it through the congregation. Whatever's in the end, sometimes the cheapest way to go is not the easiest way to go for an organization. So it really depends on the organization. But so of course you can buy it with a loan. There are some good options for that right now. The Sustainable Energy Fund has a 1% loan for nonprofits right now, but it's still going to be more expensive than if you went with the other options because of that third-party ownership. Collective Sun, the way they work is you pay essentially 80, I think 83% upfront. You choose your installer, you do everything, except that instead of paying your installer, you pay the 100% of the cost, you pay Collective Sun the 83%, I think, of the cost. And then, or I think it's 88 now. And then they own the system for 6 years. There's no other transfer of money. And then at the end of 6 years, you both sign a document saying you will receive the system at no cost. So that's what Collective Sun is. It's an easy way to go, just like buying the system up front is an easy way to go. Another way is to go with the Clean Energy Co-op. What we offer is that is best suited for nonprofits is a power purchase agreement, and which is we install the solar on the roof, and then whatever the roof the solar produces, the host pays the Clean Energy Co-op for that electricity instead of paying PECO. Because PECO's rates are quite low for commercial as far as what they gets reimbursed for solar. Right now in this area, our PPA rate is more expensive than PECO, but not more expensive than, say, getting renewable energy from the energy co-op. So it depends, there's lots of faith institutions who are choosing to pay the premium for renewable energy, buying renewable energy on the market. Installing it could be an option for those people. And then the most complicated, but the cheapest, is to set up your own LLC within the organization to develop a PPA. And I also, there's a Noel Smith who has presented here in the past, did this for his church, and his LLC is called Holy Solars. And both myself and him, we help other institutions to set this up. And he is also willing to kind of do this under his Holy Solars LLC. So this is something that's complicated, but if people are in the institution that want to get this done, then just talk to me. So I would love, I'm super excited about the Clean Energy Co-op, partly because I'm really jaded with advocacy and want to just actually do the work to combat climate change. And we can do it as, I can't just go and put a solar system on a school, but we can do it collectively and make it happen. And so I just think that's really exciting, and hope that you will join and join us in the co-op on our website, which is cleanenergy.coop. There's a button on the top right to join. You can either pay like the extra $4 to just have it easy and do it online, or you can mail in a check. If your institution wants to learn more about solar for your institution, drop me an email at Clean Energy Co-op SEPA, Southeast PA, at gmail.com, and we can set up a time to talk. So that's what I had to present, and I'd be happy to take questions. Brent also is available for questions as well.
Joy, that was great. And you really broke things down, I think, to make it sort of easy to understand. So I'm grateful for that. Thanks. If anybody has questions, they can raise their hand, or they can actually use the, oh, there you go, Jenny, you can put your hand up like that. Jenny, thank you.
I just wanted to point out that after I went to my first presentation and I wrote everything down really carefully, I then went on Google, and it's hard to find the clean energy co-op. You've got to enter cleanenergy.coop, because there's all these other institutions with similar names. And even though I knew what I was looking for, I had a hard time. So I'm just letting you know, if you want to do a little research, you either got to stick with it, or you got to remember to put down cleanenergy.coop.
Thank you, Jenny.
Sure.
Bill
I put
Cousins,
the- I
how
put
are
the link
you?
in the chat along with some other links.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Thanks. Yes, yes. Thanks.
Joy, this was a great presentation. On one of your slides where you were talking about the power purchase agreements with an LLC, those you mentioned, or in the slide you said you had 2 churches that had done that, or you were aware of churches that had done that?
Yes, so Temple Lutheran in Havertown has done this. That's Noel Smith's church. And then we've both worked with a synagogue in Media who is currently doing this as well. I don't think they've gotten to the point where they have the solar on yet. But they're in the process. And I think Nathan Martin's that is the synagogue with Nathan Martin, and then another synagogue he's affiliated with, I think, is going to try to do that as well.
That's my synagogue. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Germantown Jewish Center.
Okay. Thank you.
I guess my question was the investors in the LLC in those instances, are they typically members of the congregation who want to invest in this project for their congregation, or who
Right.
invests usually?
So this is interesting. So this is one of the reasons that the co-op structure is very powerful, because if you have an LLC that has more than one person in it, the tax rules get messy. So the way that Noel got around this, and I think the other synagogue is it's not, the other investors are not part of the LLC. They are doing a private loan with the LLC, or with the person who's part of the LLC. And in that way, they're not part of that business. They're just have a private arrangement. And yes, those people generally are part of the congregation.
So in that instance, the principal person in the LLC would be the person getting the federal tax credits
Right.
for the investment.
And it's an easy rollover when it's a one-person LLC.
Gotcha. But if you're trying to split those tax credits among several investors, that's when it gets really complicated.
Then you can only put it against passive income, which is very specific income that, well, I don't want to get too much in the weeds.
Okay, yeah,
But not
understood.
many people have it.
So,
Okay.
so are you saying if a congregation were forming an LLC, one person is the sole member of the LLC, maybe 10 members each put in $10,000, and then that one member turns around and gives 10% of the tax credit back to those 10 members, that kind of a thing?
Right. Essentially, that's what the private agreement that Noel did with the other people who contributed spelled out, that they'll receive this much back, in this year and and going forward. So, it's essentially sharing the contributions, but it's done in a way that's it's a private loan. So it's not part of the tax structure.
Gotcha.
But in order to do that, you you have to have people who are interested in setting up that structure within the organization. And you have to have the organization willing to do a third-party ownership agreement, and to have that agreement be with essentially one of the members. So I know, like at my church, it's very lawyer heavy, and a lot of lawyers tend to be risk averse, and they just didn't even want to touch third-party ownership. And then of course we are blessed and cursed with an endowment that we can just easily pluck from. So that takes away the issue of having to have it cheap.
So does that mean your church gave up receiving a tax credit?
That's correct.
Mhm.
Thank you. Carlin Nelson has a question.
I actually have a comment. I lived on a Girl Scout camp in Delaware with the first platinum green building that they ever had in Delaware. And so I lived with solar energy all day, and I sold it to everybody who came through the door in terms of the concept. And we had it not only for, of course, the building was built specifically facing in exactly the right direction, but we had it one of those educational panels on the wall inside the building. And it was very helpful to sell encourage other people or inspire other people. Let me use the right word here, inspire other people. Our whole building was grant funded or donations from industry and the like, because Delaware has a great option for that because they're such a low tax state. But I can tell you from the perspective of somebody who worked in the building every single day and heard the sun coming up as the solar panels were trying to gradually click on, we were able to save 60% of our energy, and we had air conditioning in that huge building. So it's really a great way. Any place that you do it, I mean, it's hard because I suspect that anyone that is in a church is not involved in another church, perhaps, but it is a great way to inspire other organizations to do it. They were very interested in actually seeing how much was being produced on certain days, and the only time it was not producing when there was a really deep snow and at night.
Yeah.
The snow had to be really deep, because if it was just a light dusting, it still got enough through. I also learned that they attached the hot water generation to it as well. So I learned a lot about that as well. And so it's a different, the electricity grid versus doing it specifically. We had a separate panel for the hot water, and that was not as successful. It worked, but not as successfully. Mm-hmm. But it's really educationally, having one of those display panels is really helpful. It's just really a wonderful opportunity to share how it works. And we also built in clerestory windows, I believe that's the right name, that you could open and close with. They just had a button that you opened and closed them, so that the more hot air you let out before the solar comes on, if it builds up the day before, the more energy. We went from 40% to 60%, as long as I was willing to do that all the time. And that really is very easy to do. So that was one thing, if just in terms of educational perspectives, it really encourages other people and other industries who have the availability to do that. The other question, just from one of your slides, what is this? You said there was a certain kilowatt production that under which.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So basically under 200 kilowatts is really considered a small system in solar world. And basically the reason is because if you have one installation and you can just put lots and lots of panels, your labor costs are going to go down. So it's just an economy of scale. And unlike a residential bill in in Pennsylvania where all of your costs for your, except for, your, customer charge,
Right.
all your usage is billed on kilowatt hours. It's only about half that for a commercial commercial building.
Mhm.
So because of that kind of squeeze on margin of, you're only able to capture back half of the value than you would have for a residential system, which means you should definitely, if your house is suitable, you should definitely get it on your house because you really make money very quickly. So, but it's tougher in Pennsylvania for smaller commercial systems to be, they're not going to be big money makers, like if you were in New Jersey, the aspects of the solar renewable energy credits there are a lot more valuable than they are in Pennsylvania. So the cost of, and you'll see a lot of commercial installations there as well in Massachusetts, where again, the policies are such that it makes it a lot more profitable for commercial installations.
Yeah, my son lives in DC and he did it on 3 of his buildings. And because of that reason, and he always is telling me how Pennsylvania is really a little bit behind the curve, but which is a shame. But
yeah, that's really where the Clean Energy Co-op fits in really nicely, where if a nonprofit or community institution wants to go solar, doesn't have the money to put it, to make it happen up front. And then what do? Right. So their options are us, or there's a couple of national organizations that take on a couple projects a year that you could try to get in with, but it's a little bit more difficult.
It seems like schools and, as you said, community or, municipal would be great opportunities, the roof lines, and also educationally for the children in those buildings to understand. But
we've been in conversation for about a year with the Haverford Township School District, and that conversation has worked well because I'm a Haverford Township's resident, right? So I've been able to go to meetings, and other people in the co-op have been able to go to meetings. We've been able to talk to the people. They know us by name now. Right. And it's for an institution that mainly does education, thinking about doing something that is not, even though we've have many educational opportunities that we've spelled out, that we would do with them. It's still not like something they're jumping through. They're jumping at. It's taking work to get them to buy into it.
Right. Wow.
Any other questions? So everybody understands this and is going to send out an email tomorrow to their faith institution saying, it's time.
Ed, what?
Well, I just need to make a comment, which is that I'm on tonight to hear this. But I'm not quite sure how to ask a question without going into a whole lot more detail about the situation that we are in. So what I'll be hoping to do is to figure out with whom we should ask you to have a conversation.
Okay.
And we have been, both I and the other member of our meeting who are working on this have installations from Exact Solar. And we've had one visit from Exact Solar. And we're having a meeting on Sunday with committee clerks who have a stake in a small vacant lot next to the meeting house graveyard that's used for overflow parking. and we need to determine what the framework might be. What we're talking about is a ground level installation. Our installation is a ground installation that's I'm in an age where I can't keep my words straight, but it is a stacked installation. We're talking about ground level, and my colleagues is an installation on his roof. So that's just, but I need to figure out who I should be trying to get for you to talk with, which would
Yeah, so I'll put,
include both of us, but I need to get a couple.
So how about if I do this, Joy and Ed, if this is agreeable to both of you, how about if I just connect you through email? Because Joy, I'm not sure Ed can pull things out of
right.
that.
I was
And-
putting it in anyway.
Okay. Okay, good for you. And Ed, would that be okay? I'll connect you with Joy via.
That's
via
just
email.
fine. Yeah.
That's great.
May not be the day after tomorrow, but
No, yeah, no rush. You'll be, and then you'll be connected.
we're going to be
Thanks.
working through the summer on what a possible system might be and how we might go about financing it.
Yeah, so I don't know who you're working with at Exact Solar. So we've had our communications with Doug Edwards. And so he knows about us, knows what we do.
Okay, well,
And,
the guy who came and looked at our space.
So we'd be happy to talk with you about that. But you know, we've
Oh, it just means there's a connection.
yeah.
Yeah, great. I'll be in touch at some point.
Okay.
And thanks.
Okay, great. I just connected you. So are there any other questions? Joy, I actually have a question. Can you share either the PowerPoint or PDF with me so I can send it out to the group?
Sure.
That would be great.
Mhm.
Thank you. And I'll also send out the chat to the group.
And so the recording wouldn't do that?
The recording will have the PowerPoint, but then people, if they want independently, can just click on something without having to go through the whole recording and see what was on Joy's slides.
And I really encourage you, if you guys are interested, to check out the cleanenergy.coop website and consider becoming a member. I mean, it's not, there's no requirement to do any investment, but we'd love to have more members so we can do more projects.
And Bert, in fact, is going to take it to his meeting. So yay, that's wonderful. Yay, Bert.
So that does lead me to ask the question, which is, are you able to leverage your investors' funds to increase your ability to finance stuff?
Well, so the way that generally our agreements work with host installations is that we try to together develop more investors within each organization that we have a host with. So we've done 2 farms, for example, and that do farmers markets and things like that. So they promoted that they're getting solar on their farm through the energy co-op, and would you consider becoming a member and things like that. So we try to grow membership that way. And then all of our members are able to invest in anytime there's an offering, but our members don't all have really deep pocketbooks. So it just depends on people's finances at the time, you know? So, so spreading the investment in more people, or the potential investors, to more people who might be interested is really important. The shares are inheritable, and like there's just everything is spelled out legally for membership, and it's very well done. So like, you're gonna get your business essentially, I guess I can't say that for sure, but people have been paid back, I should say, in the past, their investments already, and they've gotten their dividends. It's not without risk. However, the people, I can tell you, I'm working on the project development, working on the spreadsheets. We're fairly conservative. We don't want to have a community of people who are taking a huge risk in doing this. We are also not creating a community of people who are going into it to get rich. That's not going to happen. But it's not a donation.
So if you're paying investors 2% a year,
Yeah.
how do people get their investment paid back?
So the way that, let me go back to this slide here. You guys can see this?
Yes.
Okay. So every time, when you invest, a lot of people invest because of a certain project, right? However, the investment is not specifically in the project, it's in the co-op. And so once the project, so like a certain number of shares would be needed for a certain project. And then money's going to come in because if it's a loan, the loan payment, or the electricity is being produced and the payments coming in for the PPA. Once that money comes in, that is used to buy back shares. And those shares are then able to be used to develop a new project.
Mhm.
And then the prospectus lays out, I think it's 20 years is the term. However, you can always request your share back, because sometimes it's not necessarily going to be available right then, but sometimes there's a share is bought back, essentially, and goes into the main co-op pool of money, but there's not a new investment to put that back in immediately. So instead of paying the dividend from just the bank account, instead of something that is directly paying money, that share might be available to give back before the 20 years. If not, it's whatever the term is. I think it's 20. It's given back. It's contracted back at that time.
Mhm. Thank you.
Really thorough. Thank you. Is there one last question before we wrap up for the evening? Anybody? It's okay if there is not. Joy, this is unbelievable. The work that you're doing, the clarity in presentation, the really good questions, and offering this opportunity to all these folks. And I think one of the reasons to have to share the PowerPoint is just to put that hook in other waters with the people that aren't here. I think it's so important to get this information out. So thanks for the good work you're doing. It's fab. And thank you all for showing up tonight. And I will let you know, we're actually going to take June, July, and August off for our programs. We would welcome suggestions for programs. In September, we're doing something on green burials, which I'm really excited about. There's somebody from West Laurel who's going to present on green burials, which is becoming more and more of a thing. So everybody have a wonderful summer. Thank
too.
you. Please be in touch if you have any thoughts or suggestions of ways that we can make this better. Like, should we meet in person? I feel like the opportunity for more of us to be together online. Like, so we have people from Maine to North Carolina and Erie, right? And Philadelphia. So we would not get these people if we met in person. So a product of the pandemic has, there are definitely silver linings, I think. And the other thing I hope and pray for you all is that you stay well over the summer. So I'll be thinking about you, and let's keep in touch, okay? And I'll be sending things out periodically. If you have anything for me to share with the Mainline Interfaith Power and Light group, let me know. This comes from me, Courtney Wilcox, not from PAIPL. They send out different announcements. So if there's anything you want to share with the group, let me know.
I should put it, there's a couple people here that got the invitation through me to come to this thing. If you want to get information from Courtney about these slides, you should put your name in, or your email, or maybe name in the chat.
Okay. And there it is. So Chuck and I, and others, and Joy and Jerry Tootin and Pam Costi help to facilitate this. That's all we do. We get information. Thanks, Carlin. Pull information together and see what we think people would like to hear. So we hold things very loosely and would welcome engagement and participation, and are grateful for it. So, oh, good, great. Okay, I'm saving this information, and I also send out the chat in the email to my mailing list, so you can look for that. Okay. All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Joy.
Thank you all.
Good to see
Joy,
all of you.
you sparkled tonight, Joy. Thank you. Bye.